Verse 21, this is what it says. Easy now, you have nothing to fear. I'll take care of you and your children. He reassured them, speaking with them heart to heart. Isn't it amazing that God, even in the midst of stuff, tells us to fear not? That lets us know fear may come, but you don't have to let it take your life over, okay? Love you, and here's Dr. Ed.
Thank you, Yolanda. I had to play that clip again. We had it right there in the library, and I said, she had already done it live the other time, but I had to play it again because of what's happening in our world. Anyway, thank you so much. If you're watching this by rebroadcast, take a moment, hit the like button in advance, like it in advance, because you know you're going to like it. And also share it with someone that you feel comfortable sharing with. We all have people, friends, that understand how we think and understand what we watch, understand some of our views and philosophies, and even some people that we're saying, hey, you need to watch this. So click that share button. And those of you that are also watching it as a watch party, come on and make that connection. And also your comments, hey, how you doing? See ya. And if you hear something good, let me know. Oh, that sounds great. Oh, that blessed me. I loved it. It lifted me. It encouraged me. I like to read them. I like to see them. So thank you so much for everything that you do. I just realized if you couldn't get a friend request in, I shouldn't say I told you it was going to be too late, but if you couldn't get a friend request in, I know many of you have done this already, but we just hit 5,000, and I was just elated. I was elated, and it just sounds so wonderful to hit 5,000. So I thought it was cool, but you can't add anybody to it. And then also this week, thank you so much to those of you that watch my YouTube. We went over the 1,000 mark. I mean, really serious, stomp down 1,000 mark folk. We went down that path, and I really appreciate it. So let's get into this. Let's get right into it. And I've been talking about spirituality equals life. It's the life. And I use the analogy from the secular musical prophet, Luther Vandross. And especially where he turns around and he says that a house is not a home when there's no one there to climb there, saying that I'm still in love with you. In other words, you could have a structure, but if there's no spirit inside of that structure, then it doesn't. It could be the most beautiful structure in the world, but it's literally meaningless. That's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about beginning the process of healing the breaches and the wounds that have taken over or overtaken us in the past weeks and the past months. This year, 2020, oh, goodness gracious alive. We've had to deal with so many of these wounds, and people have a tendency sometimes to open the wounds, or sometimes they want to believe that, oh, everything's fine, everything's going hunky-dory, but that's not really what's happening. You start off 2020, and then all of a sudden, COVID hits. Then with COVID hits, you hit the death of people being shot or being choked by police, which led to an understanding or a cry for healing from systemic racism. Then you look on television and you hear presidents and you hear attorney generals and you hear people in other parties talking about There's no such thing as systemic racism. It's just a few bad apples. And then I'm not getting into politics. I don't want to, that's not my goal. My goal is when you get into the church and you see some of your number one church leaders that you watch on television, that you've even given your ear to hear spiritual things. And you begin to hear even those leaders say, well, I don't believe that there's systemic racism. This is a Christian nation. You have a few bad apples. But we could go on and on. That happens. Then you have your protest. Then you got the COVID. Then you got the election. Then I was just hearing that they want to have these recounts in places like Detroit in Michigan, Philadelphia in Pennsylvania, Atlanta in Georgia. And they're saying this is where we believe the corruption is. And I began to scratch my head, and it makes you almost feel as if, are you just singling out cities that are predominantly African American when you talk about corruption? Where you just help people to understand, where they start talking about, I believe the voting is rigged, and now all of a sudden you're in a situation where you have even your prime time religious guys and girls telling you that it is rigged, but God is going to fix it. And I'll just be honest with you. I had to sit back and began to ask myself the question, now, whose God is this? Because you're going to have to heal me from some of these things. Physically, COVID. Mentally, because I've gone through so much stuff this year. Emotionally, because of the people that you said this didn't exist, but yet the people that you said didn't exist, they're gone, and I can't seem to justify your doctrine, your theology. And I began to sit there and ask myself the question, maybe there's some churches that maybe for a while we just can't go to until we disconnect Jesus from America and Republican. Well, I wasn't going to say Democrat because they don't connect Democrat with Jesus. And to where all of this is all mixed up. And so I said, how do we heal from these? Because with these wounds in our souls, and now we're going into Thanksgiving and Christmas and holidays, Lord, how do we heal these things? And so I had been praying about it. I've been thinking about it. I had gone into meditation every morning, at least for the last 7 days, just to really figure out, how do I express this? How can I begin the process of healing it? And the answer came, and I'm saying this is for me. I'm sharing what the answer came from me with you, and maybe you might get something out of it. The answer came from me that I've got to go back and relook at what does spirituality mean? What does it mean? Here's how I can teach it. I can understand it myself, but to understand it and to teach it is two different things, and to share it with others and to help others. And some people are going to get out of the fire. Some, the scripture says, you got to pull out of the fire. This is where our teaching comes in. And the first word is spirituality. Spirituality equals our lives. Now, the Apostle Paul wrote this in 1 Corinthians chapter 3, and he calls himself a master builder. We consider ourselves to be masters when we have over 10,000 hours of things in our livelihood or in our particular career. Paul called himself a master builder, spiritual builder. Actually, he built tents. He was a tent maker, but he also understood himself as a master builder. And he says, secondly, not only is he a master builder, he said, but we are also master builders. Number one, we are master spiritual builders. Well, what are we building on? I don't know. We'll find out. Number two, he says what we're building, whatever it is that we're building, we're not building it by ourselves. We're building it together with God. We are co-laborers together with God. God is building our life, but we are building our life. So that old thing where we were taught to look up in the sky and to pray, Jesus, fix my life. And we said, oh, it don't work. Why did God put me in this position? Why did God allow me to go through this? Why did God put me on this road? Why did God let me have to deal with this? Everybody else's life looks like it's charmed and perfect. Why me? Why do I have to deal with this? And so we sit back and we pray to God and we say, Jesus, come down and fix my life, because that's how we've been taught. That's how our religion taught us over the years. I'll never forget when I was growing up in church that we were never taught to pray to Jesus and say, Jesus, fix my life. I didn't start hearing that till I started hearing some of the pop theology that we hear out there now. But what we were always taught to do, we were always taught to pray to God, and we asked God to give us strength. How many of you remember this? Lord, give me strength to fix my life. Lord, give me strength to help build my family. Lord, give me the strength to get my children through high school. If you just allow me to live, to get my kids through high school and to get them off through college. Remember, all we asked God for, or our parents, was just strength. They asked for strength to help them get through. They never asked God to do the whole thing for them. Where do we get that from? And so when Jesus doesn't seem to come down and fix our lives and whatever image of Jesus you have, then we want to say, I knew that religion wasn't real. Maybe it's because we don't understand how it works or how healing works. So I said, let me explain, or at least start to explain some of how this works. Can't do it all in one session, but I know you're going to be here with me. I know you're going to stick with me here on this session. If you're new, by the way, type new, or if this is your first time, just hit first time. If you're watching me from another city, type the city. If it's Cleveland, New Jersey, Florida, especially Detroit, Philadelphia, and Atlanta. These are I know you want to type that in. So let me know wherever you are. Let me know that you're there. But I wanted to explain, how do we look at life? It seems to me that it is possible to have a structure of life that looks like a structure. Well, no, don't let me go there. From the day we are born, Genesis chapter 2 says, and God formed man, or what we call, that word man means mankind. God formed man from the dust of the earth and breathed in that dust from the earth the breath of life, and mankind became a living soul. I firmly believe that, of course, that dust from the earth, we know, I believe that 13 billion years ago, when that universe, kabam, hit that big bang. And as the planets began to spin and the solar system began to spin out from the center of the universe's axis, as we began to see all of this start, we realized that as the earth began to cool and as we appeared upon the earth, that actually the dust from the earth that we were created from was not just dust from one earth, but it was dust from stars. Stardust is how we were created. And as we began to move and change and think and relate, and those neural pathways began to move, it says it was not just a physical man or woman. Then God breathed. So it means that the spirit or the essence or the intent of God touched flesh. And when spirit touches flesh, when wind touches flesh, the flesh becomes something like it has never become before. So we have this God that is within. And it is when God is within, it is where that life begins. Now, as we are born into this planet, then life begins to take place. Things are thrown at us. And I said, let me get something. How do we build a life? If our spirituality is life, how do we build a life? A regular, normal, everyday life. Something happens and something is thrown at us. Maybe, a laugh. Nobody can laugh like us. So we got us a laugh or a personality. And then maybe we turn around and we find out, oh, wow, we're pretty cute and hey, you got cool clothes and you know how to match them, and you realize, wow, hey, pretty cute, got some cool clothes and I know how to match them, and so this is my life. Okay, how do I piece this? Okay. Then you just realize, and somebody comes along and gives you got your education, you got an education and got some smarts under your belt, and then you got that and you add that to your life and oh yeah, look at my life. And then you realize, wow, I found somebody that I really like, or well, not really, but they're gone now. But I got some things, got a nice house and a car, and I got that kind of in life, and so then you meet somebody and you realize I'm a superhero, and you meet them right there, and you look at them, and you look out of your life, and you say, hey, how you doing? And they look at you like, what are you talking about? You say, look at me. I'm cool. See? And you realize your life is falling apart. You realize that this does not particularly look like a house, does it? Maybe if I look at it a certain way and crunch my eyes up, but it don't look quite like a house. If I wanted it to look like a house, I built one earlier, a life that's going to be in progress. I think this is what it would kind of look like. It would look kind of like this if you were starting, if you were putting all the pieces together. And you start seeing, oh, I see where, okay, that's where that roof might come up, and I can tell. And if I was able to, put my little people back here, I could see that. As a matter of fact, if they hadn't finished their house, or they hadn't finished their life, or good-looking life, or they didn't have all the money they wanted, or the car that would be nice to drive, or whatever, at least, they may not have all the verbs coming out and saying the right things and got the cool lines and the best job in the world at just going to school. At least I can see that there is potential to this life. This is life. Oh my goodness, I should have never turned them loose on the applause track. But you get the idea, right? Okay, you got the idea. So we know this is here. Now I want you to take this and I want you to transfer this physical thing totally into the spiritual. I'm going to take away that from what you can see, and I'm going to take the people out, the superheroes, and I'm going to bring it back to a spiritual life. Your spirituality is your life. Not the physical house over your head, but your life is how you really live. It is about how you pray. It's about your personality. It's about the emotional things. It is about what do you do when things are damaged? What do you do when things get tough? We're right here in this whole COVID thing right now. And what we're about to go through, don't worry, I'm going to be right here with you. Week after week after week. I'm not going away. I hope you meet me here every single Sunday, Sensational Sunday at 10:30 a.m. Central. Meet me here because you got holidays coming up. They're going to be talking vaccine. And you're saying, oh, well, I'm not taking that vaccine. I'm not taking it. Oh, I know how you're saying. I kind of said a few little things inside of myself too, what I'm not going to do. But then I notice as the death toll rises, as the hospital beds fill, as the sickness goes up, you begin to ask yourself the question, what's it worth? Is it worth by somehow catching this thing? Oh, well, you can just get right over it. Everybody can go to, maybe not. Maybe it could take you and transition you to that other side. Wow. So maybe you're saying, well, what if I take the vaccine and the vaccine takes me out? And now you're stuck between two places. One could take me out or the other can. See, you see what I'm saying? So our main thing is to spiritually create a bridge between now and this 2021. People say, well, then the new president will be in. Really? We're beginning to learn, well, they're not going to let that happen. They? Who? It seems that every single week since the election, something changes and they let something go just a little bit further. I believe that we're in territory in our country, in our churches, with our spiritual leaders, in our spiritual lives. I believe we're in a territory that is unfamiliar. And it's going to require a wise master builder. And that's what Apostle Paul says. We are co-laborers with God. You're going to have to work not with God. You're not going to have to be worked on by God. You're not going to have to work on God. You're going to have to get in there and work with God. And when you work with God, and you're going to say, Lord, fix my life. Let me explain something to you. That when God begins to fix your life, there is a possibility of something that will happen. It is possible that everything you called a beautiful life, and to you it looked like a great life, but no, it didn't look like a house to me or anybody else. You've been looking at this so long and making yourself believe it looked like a house, but it's not. It's not. But when God does what he does, he may have to dismantle this thing all the way to the foundation. And if he dismantles it to the foundation, can you handle the fact that everything that had been a part of your life up until now, you may have to admit wasn't cool? And you may have to mentally, emotionally, and spiritually let it go in order to keep the foundation. This is what he writes also further down in Corinthians in chapter 3. He said, many of the structures that we build Some buildings that we build along with God are gold, like gold, silver, brass. Some are wood, some are hay or straw. He said, but all of the kind of buildings we build, and isn't it interesting that God is a co-laborer with us? It means that God will let us build a big gold, beautiful gold building, and he'll also let us build a building made of straw, especially when you're telling God how it ought to be built. He said, but everybody's work, not when we get to heaven, but while we're here, it says everybody's work, I believe, while we're here, will be tried by fire. You know what fire is? We're not just talking about the physical heat or a match or a lighter or campfire. Fire is when the heat and the pressure of life comes so against you that you begin to discover how you have really built your life. And that's why we say, I believe that these are the things that the demands that are placed on our lives, the pushes against our lives, the financial pressures. This is fire. That COVID-19, that's fire, baby. It's fire against your building. How much has your life been able to take? How much can you take? You're almost already pulling out your hair. How much can you take? How much can you deal with this? The Apostle Paul goes on to, he said, there's a possibility that all of your house, your work, can be burnt up. He said, the only thing that's going to be left in some of these cases is the foundation and you. Sometimes it's just going to be you. Just you. I got them on the thing, got the thing right. Yeah. Just you. Standing on the foundation. Realizing that I have to build again. Sometimes you have to let that building be torn in order to build again. Sometimes you're going to find out that there are going to be some churches that you used to go to. They have so connected Jesus with politics and elections and political parties. So when people said, all we're going to do is preach Jesus, and you find out that the Jesus they're preaching is they're looking for the kingdom to come just in the United States of America and forget the rest of the other people, to where everything is just so mixed up, you're going to find out that that kind of thinking might be burned down when you start putting your trust in a president. See, that's one thing we've learned as spiritual people. As people, especially people who've gone through hell for 400 years. Our grandparents and our mamas and our daddies and great-granddaddies and everything told us, you don't put your trust in no man. Put your trust in no flesh. Don't put your trust in anybody. Oh, I forgot. Those are the horns where they clap now. Instead of clapping, they honk. Oh boy, Our people teach us you don't put your trust in anybody. No matter how much we love our families, husbands and wives and children and mothers and fathers and grandparents. That boy is cute, that girl is fine, but you do learn, if you put your trust in that human flesh, what did you learn? That human flesh will fail you. Somewhere down the line, They're not going to be there when you need them. They're not going to pray for you when you call on them. They're not going to be able to put you in their arms when you're crying. Sometimes you're going to have to learn. You're going to have to stand on that foundation all by yourself. Sometimes in life, the pressures are going to hit when everything around you seems to collapse, and the only thing you have is that foundation upon which you stand. There's an old song that says, my hope is built on nothing less than Jesus and his righteousness. I dare not trust. And it goes to this sweet refrain, but wholly lean on Jesus' name. On Christ, the solid rock I stand. All other ground is sinking sand. All other ground is sinking sand. Jesus said, take heed how you build, because when the rains come down, that's the theology. That's when the religion comes down and shows you that even it can be wrong. And the winds blow. That means when people around you are not there for you, and the people that you thought were going to be there are not there anymore. And everybody that promised, they're not there, and systems fail you, checks fail you, even the government, they won't even release the funds to be able to help you through. And then all hell comes loose. This is the flood that comes from the bottom. So you got the rains coming from the top, winds from the side, and the floods coming from the bottom. Jesus said, he says, and the house that was built on sand fell. And great was the fall. It said, but the house that was built on a rock, it stood. Both houses of equal value, but it was about what the foundation was. The Apostle Paul says, even the house can come down, but as long as you got that foundation, you can start again. And what you realize, you have to be willing to let some of this, I know my time's up, let some of this thinking go. Let some of these things go in order for you to begin to build another foundation. And I'm going to tell you, just on the other side of this, I'm going to tell you right where you can begin to start the process of your healing, your spiritual healing, so you can take this hammer and start building this spiritual house. I want you to take a moment. And I want you to go to myalc.org. And don't forget it. I know you may not go right now, but don't forget myalc.org. That's our website. And that enables us to be able, that's where you can make your contributions. And people say, well, you don't got to keep it low key. I understand you got to keep it low key, but you listen, our subscriber list is going up. People are watching, and our viewer list is going up because we're talking to the hearts of people. We're telling people it's not just about begging God to fix it from on high and then wait. And if it happens, it does, or if it don't, it don't. This is not a slot machine religion here. Because when you give, it helps us to deal with equipment. It helps us to reach out further and to touch more hearts. And that's fine. But what I'm most concerned with is making sure that I have the ability, at least electronically, to just touch your life. Those of you who have walked with me for years. I was talking to someone the other day, and they had to move, and they went to see their parents and it's only just a few of them. It's just a few in that family, because that's some of the sacrifices we're making for Thanksgiving. And they were just calling, don't know when they're going to come back. But I was just so pleased to hear from them, because they said, at least we're online and we can all stay connected. Listen, you don't have to be in Houston to be a part of ALC. You can be in Florida. You can be in New York. That means all of us can come back together. If you used to be at ALC and you say, I want to come back, but you don't want people to know that nobody cares about that stuff, man. Girl, nobody cares about all that stuff. What we care about right now is that we begin to fix our lives and that we know how to build them properly. And we can start with that one thing. So make sure you go to myalc.org. And not only that, but you can also go through the app. I've had some people sign up for that app. You can go to ALC on the Facebook page, Abundant Life Center on the Facebook page, and download the app. A little app. You can hear the radio station, all those different things. And people give through our app. And it's safe and secure. We make sure all of that. And not only that, but you can also, with your text. And the way you do that is you can text whatever amount you want. 5, 10, 20, 50, whatever you want. And you can text it to 713-742-2035. That's 713-742-2035. And you can look at your record and see all of what you give and make sure that they applied it to the right place. And if they didn't, you can call them on the phone. Somebody will take a message and you know, it may not even be an answer machine. People picking up the phone and say, what can I do? How can I help you? And direct you and get you to the right place. And you can say, you didn't put my money in the right place. And they will take care of it right on the spot, because this is about you. This is why we do it. And then also you can reach us, just write a check, slip a little check in the mail. Hey, it's a blessing. That goes to Abundant Life Center, P.O. Box 772-300, Houston, Texas, 77215. See, those go back to them radio days. Abundant Life Center, P.O. Box 772-300, Houston, Texas, 77215. Now, before my time is up and before we do our power prayer today, because that's going to be a healing prayer that we do today. And it's a prayer right before Thanksgiving. So don't let me forget. We're going to pray that Thanksgiving prayer because we're coming up on it. I won't see you until after then. That first thing we got to grasp when we build our spiritual life, and you know what I'm going to say. The first hammer, the first tool that we build, the first 2x4s we put together as we're building this spiritual house, this spiritual life, is an understanding. And that understanding is this: God is not merely out there. You know what I'm getting ready to tell you, don't you? Yeah, you do. God is not, it's new to some people, but to those of you who've been with me, God is not merely out there, up there, because if you're standing on one end of the planet and say that's up there, but then the people on the other end of the planet, they say that's up there. So up and down have no meaning. God is somewhere, but more than anything, God is in you, in me. It's funny how people want Jesus to be always somewhere else in a big chair with a baseball bat ready to beat us up on another planet somewhere, rather than realize, well, how do you see Jesus? I'll tell you how I see Jesus. I see Jesus in you. You say, but I'm a terrible person. Yeah, but there's a part of you right now that said, but I can rebuild this life. And that's what we're working on. And that is when you start beginning to realize that Christ is in you. Here's what's going to happen. They cannot tell you that the way you're going to make it in life is you got to follow us on this party if you're going to walk with God. If you're going to walk with God, my brother, you got to walk with God this way and with us. Because this is where God is moving. God is moving all over the place. God is moving, but primarily God is moving inside of you. You're going to start thinking about some things. When we get ready to go back to church, where are you going? Where are you going? Because you can't keep hearing the mixture of Jesus and connected into the one political party. You know better than that. That's what kept people of color physically, spiritually down, always waiting to get to heaven and put on their golden shoes and never realize that gold is right down here on this planet. Give me a long white robe. Baby, you can buy your long white robe. Put on my golden slippers. Some of you don't need golden slippers. You got red bottom shoes. Huh! I know what I'm talking about. This is the God that we serve, that can heal us, prosper us, hold us, keep us, help us, be with us through the storm, through the rain, through the sickness, through the pain, through all of this, and still at the same time continue to help us grow our lives. Let's talk about this power now. Let's talk about this power to heal. Let's begin to do what I call a soaking prayer, healing. You say, "What? I'm fine. I'm totally healthy and well." Good. And what I'm going to do is just reinforce those things. I believe that when we pray, when we meditate, when we declare, when we confess, when we say these affirmations, when we do these things, I believe that it gets into telomeres. I believe that it gets into the DNA. I believe that we can change the destiny even of our generations. All that sickness was in my generation. That heart trouble was in, that high blood pressure. I believe we can begin to change it, because I believe that now, as we begin to build our lives, we begin to build our health, we begin to build our minds, we begin to build our emotions. Now, I want you to be prepared. Let's break this stuff down. Say, you ain't got it all right. You ain't got everything right. I don't have it all right. It's not perfect. Everything's not perfect. Here's what you do. Take a deep breath. Let it go. And I'm going to do this today with an affirmation. Of course, I can pray over you, and I declare the greatness and the blessings of God over your life. But today, we're going to let this healing power flow through one of our most popular affirmations that we use here at ALC. Haven't said it in a while. So I'm going to have you actually say it and repeat it after me. So I want you to take a moment, the other kids sit still. If you're going to be there with somebody, want to hold their hand, hold their hand. But I'm ready for you to do this and make this work right here. Here we go. I am one of a kind. I cannot be duplicated. I respect myself. I respect myself. Hear that? God made me one of a kind. I cannot be duplicated. I respect myself. I was sent into this planet for a reason, and I cannot leave until I complete my mission. I have been equipped with every tool and talent that I need to succeed. I am prosperous. I am healed. I am sound of mind. I am stable in my emotions. I am becoming all that I can possibly be. The word that I have heard, I will take and make it mine and let it change me. And then I will change the world. Amen. And so be it. Now, take a deep breath. Let's just thank God for life. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. Remember everything around you. God's got you in his hand. And he loves you. And he's going to keep you through it all. Listen, I want you to have a happy Thanksgiving. Please, please, do not do the holy dance with 18, 20 folk in your house. Unless all y'all been there all along for the quarantine. Children, you might have to let this Thanksgiving go with your parents. Parents with your grandparents. You might have to let this pass so that we can have it safer next year. Because next year, it's not going to be like this year. So hold on to where we are. We're going to get across this bridge. We just got to hold on. Yes. Hold on. You just got to hold on. Just a little while longer. We can get through this valley. Listen, love you. God bless you. Have a happy Thanksgiving. If I don't see you. No, we're on Wednesday, I think. I don't know this. Bye-bye.